Welcome to Challenge and to Change, everyone. My name is Alethea. I'm a therapist with the Mosaic program at the Women's Initiative. I'm pretty new. I started in June of this year, and I'm really happy to be here, and I'm happy to be here with you all tonight.
And good evening. My name is Shelly Wood. I am the Clinical Services Director and Therapist at the Women's Initiative. Thank you all for being here. I do want to extend a deep and special thank you. As a therapist who has the opportunity to walk along with clients and participants in this healing work that we at TWI do not take lightly. To have the privilege to be trusted with your stories and to bear witness, to be allowed to walk along with you is an honor and a privilege.
And before we begin our program tonight, I'd like to ask everyone to take a moment to silence their cell phones, please. Also, if we're going to ask that no one record video, pictures are okay. And there will be a recording of the show made available afterwards. Also, if you need to step out, there are restrooms over here to the right and around the corner. And if anyone's just joining us now, welcome, and we're really glad you're here.
And now it is my pleasure to introduce our Executive Director, Dr. Nicole Thomas, who will, thank you. She will provide some opening remarks. Nicole is a passionate advocate for wellness, equity, and trauma-informed care. She is a national board certified health coach and yoga instructor with over a decade of leadership experience in higher education and nonprofits. She joined the Women's Initiative team in August, and we're grateful that she will be guiding the agency in our next chapters of growth. Please join me in welcoming Nicole.
Thank you, Shelly. Absolutely. Hello, everyone. I'm honored to open this community celebration of Challenge and to Change, which has been a beloved program of the Women's Initiative since 2008. Through Challenge and to Change, our agency has honored women's stories of overcoming life challenges to find hope and healing. After a brief pause due to the COVID-19 pandemic, Challenge and to Change returned with a renewed intention to invite all women and members of the gender-expansive community to share their stories. It takes a tremendous amount of courage to write personal stories of trauma as a part of the journey toward healing and self-acceptance. All of our authors who participate in Challenge and to Change offer us light, hope, and a reassurance that we can move through life's challenges and find healing. Tonight, some of these inspiring and courageous authors will read their stories and poems with us. I'd like to extend our gratitude and a special welcome to all of our Challenge and to Change authors, and to their friends and to their family members. I'd also like to welcome our dedicated board, committee members, staff and volunteers, and so many of our community partners who enable us to carry out our mission. We are especially grateful for our event sponsor, S&P Global, for their generous contribution and their volunteer support for this celebration. Now I'd like to introduce our keynote speaker, Mariana Araujo Herrera. Mariana is a program facilitator with the Women's Initiative, who leads Writing for Healing programs for our Bannistar program. She is an interdisciplinary strategist, poet, and creative with a decade of experience working with social impact organizations focused on gender and racial equity. She is the founder of IU Collab, a creative consultancy that partners with leaders working at the intersection of arts, culture, and equity to create social change through the power of community building, storytelling, and strategic research. Mariana is a proud immigrant from Peru and a firm believer in collective reimagination to shape a future rooted in belonging. Please join me in welcoming Mariana.
Buenas noches. It is an absolute honor to be in community with you all today. Thank you to the Women's Initiative for inviting me to be here tonight. A special thank you to the Bienestar team por siempre acoger, celebrar y fortalecer a nuestra comunidad. This is for anyone who has ever put pen to paper and dared to feel, heal, and reimagine. I grew up in a bustling city by the Pacific Ocean. The rooftops weren't finished. Tenían manchitas de colores que parecían pinceladas de arte y sueños por cumplir. I was loved. And from a very young age, I learned certain rules to follow to remain loved. Antes que nada, sé una buena niña. Be a good girl. This was not an individual mandate or fault. It was a long lineage of caged wild women. I excel at this role with flying colors. Dulce y obediente, always the solution, never the problem. It chipped away at me, slowly but surely. I don't think I can say I lost myself in it because I'm not sure I had a chance to fully have me to begin with. I made decision after decision to fit the mold. And all along, my heart deeply ached, and I didn't know why. In my 20s, I was living in this country, one full of false promises for an immigrant, for a Latina, for a bisexual woman of color. I felt for a mirage. So I started writing. I wrote to make sense of the world around me, but most importantly, I wrote to make sense of myself. I didn't find poetry. Poetry found me. The deeper the writing, the harder it was to find ways of connecting my ideas. So poetry showed up for me. Poetry allowed me to feel my story before understanding it, and that changed everything. My writing tended to my healing, and it opened doors to deepen it. Writing led me to therapy. It led me to travel to the other side of the world. It led me to reimagine a life I actually desired. Writing led me to learn to choose myself beyond limited parameters of good or bad. Writing led me to other storytellers, powerful Black women, women of color, and queer folks who inspire me to keep moving. It led me especially to the very women in this room. A ellas que brillaron con su magia, y en esa magia se acogieron las unas a las otras. El camino es largo, pero vamos juntas. In the healing that writing offers us, we can weave a different story. One that truly believes in the fullness of our sharp edges and tender hearts, as Prisca Dorcas Mojica Rodriguez would say. Last year, I left a job that wasn't for me. I left it without another job lined up. It was terrifying to make a decision fully for me, and it was nothing short of life-changing. I stumbled along the way for a year and a half. I was rejected for countless of jobs, and I had no idea how to move forward. I realized how transformative uncertainty is. I wish for it to go away, but I'm so grateful it stayed. It made me become and see that life is a constant, beautiful struggle. It showed me to finally get rid of the plan and step into reimagination and creation, one little piece at a time. This journey led me to something I always wanted, but I didn't think was possible for me, to start my own business. IU Co-op is the embodiment of me stepping into a life with courage, creativity, and power. The projects I've been able to work on are at the heart of the world I want to be part of creating. Now, this is not to say I made it. There's no making it, but there is trying. For to live is to try. Especially when we have no clue how we're gonna get through something. Especially in years like 2025, when we collectively grieve or feel hopeless. Let the pain and anger be the match that lights up your path forward. There is nobody coming for us. There's just us. And what a beautiful, powerful, and capable bunch we are. So if you can take anything from me, I hope it's this. Your story matters. Your story is powerful. Your story is world building. Tu historia está hecha de las olas del mar que forman la tierra a la que el resto vendrá. Tell it to the world? Absolutely. But most importantly, tell it to yourself. Muchas gracias.
Gratitude to you, Mariana. Our theme for this year's Challenge into Change program was Courage Rising. Many of us have experienced moments in our lives that call for courage. We may have needed courage to speak up when someone is being harmed, or to reach out and ask for help when we have struggled, or to navigate stressful and uncertain times. As part of our program this year, we recall our collective courage in navigating the COVID-19 pandemic and have reprinted a selection of stories from our 2019 to 2020 program in this year's Challenge into Change book. We were unable to hold a community celebration that year, so I'd like to ask those authors who participated in Challenge into Change 2020 to please stand so we can recognize you. Thank you. And if you are a participant of Challenge into Change from another past year, would you also please stand? Finally, I'd also like to invite all of our authors from this year's program to please stand. We are so grateful that you shared your stories with us. It was a difficult task to select the stories and poems you're about to hear from many inspiring submissions. Each of the 8 authors who will read this evening captured a piece of their healing story, and each touches a different theme. Our first author, Raven Robinson, will read Choosing to Be Here.
Hello. So the piece that I'm reading is one that I wrote at the workshop that was held by the Women's Initiative. While I was there, it was over at Visible Records, and I, for some reason, chose to sit in a beanbag chair. Not a great choice, especially because a part of what I'm recovering from is having shattered my leg 2 years ago. And so I ended up writing on the themes of embodiment, embracing discomfort, and recovery. Today, now, this breath. It's okay. Inhale, exhale, release. To be here, present, embodied, witnessing. Deep breaths move emotions through my body. Warranty the way my body shifts from chair to floor, from slouched to upright, from pain to relative comfort. Listening to a body I didn't know could speak, or knew and asked to be quiet, to hold on when it couldn't be my main concern, or was, but I didn't have the resources to tend to it, or did, but didn't know. Now, proud of my work in this moment, on the page, in my work, on my life, my well-being, my belly. Proud of the ways in which I complicate what people mean for me to be. Slip up and say the things I meant to say, but wasn't sure how. Or knew and asked to be quiet, to hold on, till a more appropriate place to be said. Or it was, but I didn't have the courage. Or I did, but I didn't know how. Till the thing was said, or the thing was did, and I felt good about it. Pleasantly surprised, life's secrets spilling out through my participation in the now. And I feel the stretch in my back, and my body shifts again, searching for relief from what used to feel like comfort. As my heart shifts again, searching for relief from what used to feel like love. Remembering a time when I felt I'd gotten it right, bright spot, from memory to inspiration, raising clues on how to do it once again, to love my body so much that I want to feed it pleasure and joy, to love my life so deeply it attracts people who want to love theirs more too. Loving those people so freely that I remember and feel connected to them from miles and years away. The me that I was then, in that place, living a full and joy-filled life, she's still here and rising up once again, gathering the pieces, shaking them into something new, then laying them bare again, to be seen, to be loved, and to be witnessed, choosing to be here.
Thank you so much, Raven. Our next author, Everleaf, will read Courage, the Dim Before the Fire.
Good evening. I'm really grateful to be here. I get to do one of my favorite things, and that's share poetry. Writing has always been a playground for me, as well as a grounding experience. I absolutely love how, as you're putting a piece together, it is simultaneously putting you together as well. The poem I'm reading to you tonight was written from a place of navigating people who underreach, who overreach, who disregard boundaries, and is my thought journey from fear of invalidated, misused, or pressured words in talking about those experiences for change to courage. Courage, the dim before the fire, the silence before the words, the breath blindly blocked before its exhale, its inhale, before the fire. Fire set ablaze all around by those words that burn down, that cause trouble, that create waves you can't undo, and that throws it all to hell. All that is a catalyst to change. I am challenged. My courage is ever present, and so I change into a dragon. Oh, I am breathing fire from my lungs, and this is what happens when dragons begin to speak. The dragons are beginning to speak. The fear and silencing are not, cannot be as unrelenting as me. Oh, I will never be an ounce of what fear says of me. I know who I was born to be, what I chose before my birth mother delivered me here. I was born to speak. One way or another, my courage will find its way to the surface, to the tip of my tongue, dancing like licks of fire, dancing like waves of water, changing like waves of wind, changing like molds of earth. I close my eyes and I breathe, searching sincerity behind them. What happened where my eyes saw ill, my feet wandered where I didn't plan. I didn't want it. So how can this be breathed out and changed? For I have feared that the question mark will stay there. I have feared that fear will push the courage down again and make me stay where I didn't plan. But no, I see that as a silly thing, not encouraging. It knows I can say what I want, and when fear is incredibly unaware, has no credibility for anything at all, and unoriginal. My eyelids lift with sincere search. I sigh, I breathe. I am here. Courage, the dim before the fire. Thank you so much.
Our next author, we'll probably have to raise it. Our next author, Ariel Short, will read Becoming in Quiet Bravery.
Good evening, everyone. I'm glad Shelly moved the mic down. We're about the same height, so I'm glad that she was able to do that. Good evening, everyone. Before I read my piece, I would just like to give a deep, grateful thank you to the Women's Initiative. I've been a part of the programming with TWI since 2015, and through their individual, group counseling, and other programs that I've been able to participate in, it has changed the trajectory of my life. And I still have connections to this day because of the people that I've met there. So this piece is a continuation of an essay that I wrote for Challenge and Change in 2016, and it's called Becoming in Quiet Bravery. I used to hide in plain sight, in classrooms, at work, even at home. I folded myself into the shapes others expected, thinking that if I fit in enough, I would finally be seen. Pretty brown girl, pretty for a dark-skinned girl, but prettiness does not shield you from feeling invisible, from the quiet ache of being misunderstood, from the low hum of fear that maybe your voice isn't strong enough, smart enough, or worthy enough. For years, I carried a mind that danced to its own rhythm, a body and brain that often seemed out of step with the world around me. I am neurodivergent, and that has shaped me as much as the color of my skin, the curve of my heritage, and the texture of my hair. To be a Black woman is to walk a path lined with expectation, and sharp eyes. Being a neurodivergent Black woman adds another layer of quiet courage. I have learned to navigate rooms where my energy is questioned, where my patterns of thinking are misread, where patience is demanded not just from the world, but from myself. Some days, it feels like walking through a world built for everyone else while carrying a map written in a language only I fully understand. Courage has found me in whispers and storms alike, not grand gestures, but in trembling moments, raising my hand when I wanted to run, saying no when my heart says yes out of fear, stepping into a room full of strangers and speaking anyway. I still remember the first time I led a small group in prayer. My hands shaking, my voice barely above a whisper, and the warmth that spread across the room when people leaned in to listen. These moments, quiet and profound, are the milestones of life lived in conscious bravery. I'm married now. I'm a minister. I've returned to school in my 30s, carrying self-doubt like a familiar cloak. Nights at my kitchen table, textbooks open, the house quiet. I wondered if I had the strength to keep going. And then I remembered the village that grew me, the women I met in my 20s who refused to let me shrink, who whispered wisdom into my trembling hands, who held up mirrors when I couldn't see myself. And rise I did. Not because I'm invincible, because I was nurtured, guided, and reminded that I am worthy. Some days I cry for the girl I was, the one who thought being good enough was a destination, not a journey. Most days I cry for the woman I am becoming, the one who knows that confidence is not a gift from the world, but a declaration I make to myself over and over until fear becomes a shadow behind the light I carry. I have learned that courage is messy. It is quiet. It doesn't always come with applause. It comes in showing up when the world tells you to stay hidden, in speaking when silence is easier, in loving, forgiving, trusting, even when the past whispers otherwise. In that messy, quiet courage, I have found beauty deeper than any mirror could reflect. I am still becoming, still unfolding, still claiming space in the world, not as someone's idea of pretty or enough, but as myself, fully, unapologetically, and with the grace to see the same potential in every brown girl, every neurodivergent girl, every woman that will come after me. I am still becoming, and maybe in that quiet bravery of this life, that is enough. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ariel. Our next author, Lilian Cerna, will read in Spanish, El Vibrar del Cuerpo. Karina Monroy will read the English translation, The Body's Vibration.
Ok. Primero, buenas noches a todos. Es un placer y un honor estar aquí, siempre agradeciendo mucho el espacio para todas las mujeres que tenemos mucho que comunicarnos. Este poema lo escribí realmente en el momento de que uno tiene todos los malestares, todos los dolores. Las mujeres realmente pasamos todo eso, desde que somos mujeres, desde que somos madres, pasamos mucho, mucho sufrimiento, pero somos fuertes, somos guerreras. Y eso significa que todos los días nos tenemos que levantar, aunque tengamos un dolor por dentro, tenemos que enfrentarnos a todo lo que nosotros vemos, porque nosotros tenemos personas atrás, personas que nos rodean, personas que siempre tenemos que demostrarle, aunque nosotros seamos fuertes, tenemos que, o tenemos debilidades, tenemos que enseñarles a ellos que también son fuertes, ¿sí? El vibrar del cuerpo. Cada día que pasa es una vuelta más de la vida, donde das y recibes, donde el corazón se parte en dos y en ocasiones se llena de muchas emociones, para llenar tu mente de fantasía. Saber que el sol brilla todos los días, pero la oscuridad inunda tu alma, que grita en silencio cada día, porque necesita de mágicos destellos para luchar el día a día. ¿Cómo decirle al viento que quieres volar cuando las alas están rotas? ¿Cómo decirle al mar que quieres nadar cuando no tienes ni fuerzas para flotar? ¿Qué podré contestarle a la vida? Si limas la armadura para enfrentar el día a día, si pones aceite para aliviar el rechinar de las tuercas, si enfrentas batallas no todas ganadas y no todas perdidas, pero si sabes que si ganas esas adversidades, te llenarán de alegría. Muchas gracias.
Gracias, Lilian. The body's vibration. Each passing day is another turn of life, where you give and receive, where the heart splits in two and, at times, overflows with emotions that fill your mind with fantasy. To know that the sun shines every day, yet darkness floods your soul, that silently cries out each day, longing for magical sparks, to endure the daily struggle. How can you tell the wind you want to fly when your wings are broken? How can you tell the sea you want to swim when you barely have the strength to float? What answer could I give to life? If you polish the armor to face each day, if you oil the hinges to ease their creak, if you fight battles, not all won and not all lost, but you know that in winning, those hardships will fill you with joy.
Thank you, Lilian. Our next author, WG, is actually unable to make it tonight, but we want to extend our gratitude to her and encourage you to read her piece along with all others included in the book.
Thank you, Shelly. Our next author this evening is Charlsie Stratton, who will read Finding the Lesson Even When There Isn't a Reason.
Hello, so many faces. So I wrote this in response to a Facebook memory that had me in a chokehold. And I realized that from that Facebook memory, that I had no idea that I would make it to the other side of this experience. And I found an exceptional level of gratefulness from being able to see where I was to where I've become. All right. There have been many instances of loss and change, heartache and break, difficulty and strife. And perhaps they all compound and line our paths until one day, a final moment tips our scale to pull us into a season of true change. Who knows? I can clearly remember the moment and feeling a new chapter began, and the involuntary action of breathing became a conscious decision. In December, it will be 4 years since my previous partner of 4 years and fiance of 5 months died. Unexpectedly and suddenly, he was gone. One day, in one sweeping moment, death won, and all the plans made, all the protections in place, all the space that love lived, it was all gone. I had been living a life with him, soft underbelly, almost fully exposed, because I had a protector that I knew would and could offer covering at any cost. I was living in such an authentic way because I had a partner who accepted me holistically and without borders. He was real good. I'm sure he made me a better person. That indescribable feeling of being fully accepted, genuinely loved, and holistically cared for, and then feeling safe enough to reciprocate all of that, that was gone, and something I didn't know I had needed so badly. Those 14 days of decision-making and trauma leading up to his death, of hospital living and wishing are definitely stored in me. And even though the impact on me has been astronomical and sharp, I would have sat bedside with that man as long as he would have let me. And then it was over. No more hospital, just aftermath. And I put one foot in front of the other from that moment of loss. But a year in, grief was still the most prevalent piece of my days. In an attempt to find solace and put my heart to pen and paper, and went to therapy in an effort to save my own spirit from being overtaken by heartbreak. I believed if I gave myself space to be vulnerable and desperate, just maybe it wouldn't continue to consume me. I was so unsteady and uprooted and thought writing it all down and giving it away would offer a grounding that could help me manage the days. And 33 months ago, I wrote, pleading for hope and peace, wishing for reconciliation with this world and a God who allowed such a catastrophe, crying for my heart to be pieced together securely enough to not cut me every single morning when I gathered it up to try to get through a full day. I was constantly activated into tears or panic by sirens, smells, words, places. My brain couldn't find regulation and kept my body on edge. And while I was willing life to offer me reprieve from that feeling, I just couldn't imagine life ever being another way. I couldn't imagine how I would ever be able to not know the loss and feel it so deeply. I was constantly praised for being resilient and strong, and maybe I was, but my strength was really being brave enough to stay soft enough to lean into those around me, to accept support from those around me and a counselor. Strength to choose to find a lesson in this heartache because a reason did not exist. And slowly, I have been able to reconstruct a life and heart that allows me more moments of peace and joy than sorrow and anxiety. I have days that feel more like the stars and moon than the darkness they sit in. I have nights that are full of laughter and music than tears and wailing. The hardest part to find and greatest gift is the lesson of continuing to live and love heart forward. As I recently ventured back through that writing, I found a sense of marvel. What an insanely beautiful thing it is that even through heartbreak and trauma, there can be healing and mending. How grateful I am to have been propped up by my circle, this community and mental health support. To get to describe myself as hopeful again is something I did not think would happen. To be able to experience my past trauma triggers and not fall to the floor is something my spirit couldn't imagine and now holds with such pride. The grace I learned to extend to myself when life still finds heaviness is a gift I am so glad I've been able to accept. I had hoped to be able to return to the old me, but I think the lesson without reason is that in every season, we get to create the person we need and sometimes the person we want. We can only move forward because the seasons are going to change and we have to decide to do it with them. And hopefully, every time, we can reconcile the dichotomy of joy and sorrow and find solace in a new season.
Thank you, Charlsie. Our next author, Melissa Aubert, will read Soar High.
That previous one's going to be a hard one to follow. I wrote this after a very unexpected and sudden health issue that happened just a couple months after
an amazing scholastic achievement. And so it really was a moment of being very high and having expectations and then being brought down very low by things you cannot control. Soar high and you may fly, wings clipped and all. You may fly high and say farewell to a personal hell that held us down like stones on a butterfly that could otherwise soar high and maybe even fly to say goodbye and cry, I am free as I can be and soar high. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. So our final author this evening is Jamaica Pleasant, who will read Does Courage Rise?
Good evening. Just gonna go right into it. Does courage rise? Does courage rise, or do we pull it to the surface like a fish on a hook, but with luck and skill and patience? Fishing lures function by feigning food or foe, because both hunger and safety will trigger the same physical response. Courage is no different. We find it when we are so hungry for it to sustain us, we are helpless to resist. It is primal, it is need, it is survival. And sometimes it is a shiny buzzing interruption, calls us to respond out of annoyance, anger, protection. Courage rises, then fear must sink. Does it sink like concrete strapped to our feet, pulling us under? Or is it more like rocks in our pocket that we can cast off as needed to keep ourselves from losing our place amongst the surface tension? Fear calls us to choose. We can flail and fight and hope that some of the weight falls out in the chaos, but we can embrace each one, skip them across the surface like stones, delighting in each ripple as it fades back into calm, floating in fearlessness, swimming in courage.
Thank you so much, Jamaica. All right, everybody, please join me in offering another round of appreciation for each of our authors. As our evening draws to a close, I'd like to invite Nicole Thomas, our Executive Director, back to share some final words.
I don't know about you all, but I would love a collective breath. So if you need that as well, just take a moment. I would like to end the evening the way that we began, with gratitude. Gratitude for our Challenge into Change committee, our planning committee that made this night possible, our staff, our board, our event volunteers from UVA HealthLink Society, and of course, S&P Global for sponsoring the program. I'm grateful for our donors. I'm grateful for our community partners who help us in this work. I'm grateful for everyone in attendance. And most importantly, I'm grateful for those of you who participated in this year's Challenge into Change. Every single one of us has experienced challenge in our lives. I hope the resilience and courage shared tonight is a powerful reminder that we are not alone in our suffering, and that we each have the capacity for healing and for transformation. We hope you'll join us for a dessert reception here in this room and enjoy time to connect with one another. If you're interested in learning more about the Women's Initiative this evening, please talk with someone on our staff or on our board. We'd be happy to meet you and share more. I invite our Challenge and to Change participants and community members who would like a copy of this year's book to visit our book table if you haven't had a chance to yet this evening. There, you can also sign up for our e-newsletters. We hope that you'll stay connected with us following this event. You can do that via social media, visiting our website, anytime to learn about more ways to get involved and support our work. And please encourage anyone that you know who may need support to seek care through our free call-in and walk-in clinics and our group offerings. And thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's been an honor and a joy and a privilege to be part of tonight.